Well, you had a good run, Roadhog mains. I hope you guys enjoyed your time at the top, because the reckoning has come. Roadhog's Hook 2.0, the nerfening, as I call it, is upon us. There's been a few changes. Some of them are going to directly benefit Roadhog, but overall, I definitely feel like this is a big nerf. Admittedly, something needed to happen. Roadhog's Hook felt way too inconsistent for Roadhog, but also for the people being hooked. Now, it's going to feel more consistent for the Roadhog player himself when the hook lands, but unfortunately for Roadhog players, Hook is going to land much less often. But maybe this is exactly what we needed. Let's start off with the positive. We're a happy fellow, yeah? The first change is that the hook victim will now move into a position directly in front of Roadhog. In the past, he would move in a straight line towards him, and this would result in weird situations where if Roadhog had some momentum, he was moving, or if his hook target was moving, that straight line after the person was hooked could put them to the left, to the right, above, and even behind Roadhog in certain situations. So now, when Roadhog's hook connects, the target will literally land directly in front of him. This is going to help Roadhog players tremendously. It's going to make it much more consistent when you hook someone, and when the pull happens, you know exactly where they're going. They're not going to land too far away from you like Ana sometimes does. They're not going to go to the left or the right, above or behind you. They're going to plop right at your feet. That is a good thing. It's a buff, frankly, but everything else about this is going to hurt quite a bit. So the second big thing they're changing is they're adding a line of sight check to see if hook should connect, and it's going to be happening from Roadhog's position instead of how it was in the past, which was from the hook's position. So what this means is Roadhog throws out his hook, and then when the calculation is done to determine if that hook is going to land, they're checking with the line of sight of the Roadhog player. So if Roadhog has eyes on the target, the hook will land, whereas in the past, there was basically eyes on the hook itself. Hook would go out, and if the hook saw the target, it would attach. It would grab them. But now, Roadhog has to see the target. Essentially, what this is doing is, based on what they're saying here, instead of adjusting the size of the hitbox to make it so that Roadhog doesn't hook people who are behind cover or around corners, they're instead doing a line of sight check with Roadhog. And anyone who is behind cover, who's got their head ducked down under something, or is around a corner, if Roadhog can't see them, then Hook will not connect. So there's the first nerf to Roadhog's Hook. But the second one, I think this is probably the biggest nerf that's going to be really frustrating for Roadhog players. Roadhog's Hook definitely needed a nerf, so I'm not complaining about that aspect, but boy, this is pretty big. The second big thing is they're now adding a persistent line of sight check back to Roadhog once a hook has landed. So you toss out your hook, the line of sight check to see if Roadhog can see the target happens to decide if it connects, and then once it connects, there is now a persistent line of sight check that's happening from that connection until the pull happens, and if line of sight breaks at any point, then Roadhog's hook will just snap. It'll break off and return. So what this of course means is that you will no longer be pulled back to Roadhog if you break line of sight at any point after the connection. So if momentum carries you around the corner or under a cover, or if you use an ability like a dash, or if you were falling around a corner, or if you were pushed out of line of sight, anything is going to break Roadhog's hook now if he can't see you. Going forward, Roadhog has to see you through the entirety of the process. He throws out his hook. To decide if it connects, he has to be able to see you, and to decide if it pulls towards him, he has to see you that entire time. Anytime you break line of sight in that process, Roadhog's hook will be canceled and will likely go on cooldown. Some people are curious if cooldown was going to reset. I don't expect cooldown to reset, not even a little bit. I definitely agree that Roadhog's hook needed a nerf, and this is certainly a big one, but I'm also a little bit interested to realize that with all of these changes and the new line of sight checks that they're implementing, they apparently decided not to change the hitbox size. So you're still going to get hit even if Roadhog's hook isn't directly on you if you're wide out in the wide open, but now it's going to be a very, very valid strategy against Roadhog players to constantly be breaking line of sight, and it's going to be a lot more difficult for Roadhog to hook if you're anywhere near a corner. And as long as you're smart about it and trying to make sure you have momentum going around the corners whenever you expect Roadhog to hook, you're going to be in a pretty good position. I definitely agree this was certainly needed. Roadhog's hook was way too strong. There was way too much crap that went on, and what felt like unfair situations for the person getting hooked. And now we're going to be flipping that role around, and I feel like there's going to be a lot of Roadhog players out there who feel like their hooks are unfairly breaking. Like, I expect the complaints to just flip over to the opposite end of the spectrum. But for those of you you who don't play Roadhog, you probably don't give a shit about that. So yeah, thumbs up for you guys, you know what I'm saying? So that is it. All of the upcoming expected changes for Roadhog's Hook 2.0. Once more, this should be hitting the PTR as soon as this week, possibly, if not next week. They did say they will reevaluate the performance of his hook depending on what happens and how community feedback is after these changes are implemented. And I'm gonna be really interested to see where it goes from here. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for me here today. As always, I want to thank you all so much for watching. Please let me know what you think in the comment section below. Hope you have a good afternoon, and until next time, I'll see you later.